Hebrews. I'm gonna try to do this again a little longer this time. Check this out. This how we the Hebrews. In 588 BC, the Hebrew nation told the prophet Jeremiah we wasn't gonna do the covenant no more, and that we was through with the covenant, and that we didn't want nothing to do with the covenant or nothing to do with what prophet Moses said concerning the covenant. And we took off to Egypt. We took off to Egypt. Let's go back a little. I done already established that it wasn't no lost tribes. You know what I'm saying? Because if you read Second Chronicles 30, Second Chronicles 30, Second Chronicles 30, this is during King Hezekiah time. This is 715 BC. 715 BC, you'll see that he mentioned all the tribes, that the tribes still there. This is 7 years after the Assyrians took the fighters away. You see what I'm saying? So all the tribes still there. You know what I'm saying? And as you read, you know what I'm saying, you'll see that the tribes still there. This is during Hezekiah time. And then those that's not mentioned in King Hezekiah's time, they gonna be mentioned in his great grandson time, King Josiah. See what I'm saying? From 638 BC to about 621 BC, King Hezekiah, great grandson, King Josiah, cleaned the whole land up, and all the tribes that's not mentioned then gonna be mentioned during his time. You know what I'm saying? This is Second Chronicles 34. You see what I'm saying? You'll see that some of the tribes are still there, but whenever he mentioned Israel name, you know what I'm saying? The remain of Israel or Manasseh, you know what I'm saying, and one of them tribes, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, they was the leaders of the northern kingdom. So you'll see that they still there. But he go into the tribes' names individually as you read. You know, he cleaned the whole, you know, kingdom up of the Egyptian worship. You know, we was on Egyptian worship the whole time. The Egyptian worship doomed us. You know, I got some videos out explaining how Egypt tried to destroy us because we was in their way. You know, being in the promised land, you know, we stopped them from doing trade and stuff. You know, us being a covenant nation, you know, Egypt couldn't come across the promised land. You know what I'm saying? And then go into Mesopotamia and do trade, you know, because we was blocking Egypt, you know, because we wasn't a idol worshiping nation. We were supposed to get rid of the idol worshiping nation. So the Egyptians tricked us from the beginning with that golden calf mess. And you can see the golden calf throughout our history. The whole northern kingdom was on the golden calf. You know what I'm saying? Till the time that we was destroyed. But in the book of Jeremiah, everybody, all the tribes went into Africa to worship the Egyptian the Egyptian religion. We said we was through with the covenant. We didn't want nothing to do with what Moses said. And that's chapter 44, verse 15, 16, 17, and 18. You'll see that the whole Hebrew nation said that, you know, because the Babylonians was coming into our land and burning everything up. And the reason why that was happening is because we wasn't doing the Egyptian religion. You see what I'm saying? So us not doing the Egyptian religion is what we thought was the reason why Babylon was attacking us. You know, the Babylonians took less than 1% away. You know what I'm saying? And they went, you know, to Babylon. While the millions, all the tribes went into Africa in 588 BC in the book of Jeremiah. And how you know that they never came back out? Because you got the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Those five prophets cover that 1% that come from Babylon. And they were sitting and waiting to see if them people would come out of Egypt, the queen of heaven worshipers. You know what I'm saying? We said that, you know, we wanted to worship the Egyptian religion. So if them people would have had came out of Egypt and back to the promised land with the exiles, it wouldn't have been no transatlantic slave trade, because then they would have been the nation and peoples that the Creator wanted them to be. You know what I'm saying? The priestly nation. But, you know, we didn't come back out of Africa. You know what I'm saying? In the book of Jeremiah or in the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Malachi gonna be the last book, about 420 BC. And as you read the exile history, those five prophets, you'll see that they sinned so bad. That's what allowed the Greeks to come into the land and destroyed him, while the 99% was in Africa. That's us. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, it was never any lost tribes. And everybody went into Africa, all the tribes. You see what I'm saying? All the tribes. Basically, we we had abandoned our tribal names. You see what I'm saying? We had abandoned our tribal names, and we was consumed into the Egyptian identity. You know what I'm saying? The African identity, because we didn't want nothing to do with the covenant. We thought doing the covenant was too hard. You know what I'm saying? And then we thought that the reason everything bad was happening to us is because we wasn't doing the Egyptian religion. See, we was on the Egyptian religion going all the way back to Jeroboam days. That'd be second, let me see, I think that's First Kings. Give up a little history on the Jeroboam thing. Let's see, First Kings. All right, here it is, First Kings. You see what I'm saying? And as you get down to First Kings 12, and then you get to verse 28, you'll see that Jeroboam brung 2 golden calves out on us. You see what I'm saying? See, we was messed up on that golden calf all the way back in Moses' days. You see, if you go to Exodus, you'll see that when he went up into the mount to get the law, and then when he come back down, you see what I'm saying? We was on the Egyptian worship. You know what I'm saying? We was doing the Egyptian golden calf. You know, that's Exodus. That's gonna be Exodus 34, I think. Exodus 34. No, that's gonna be Exodus 31, the golden calf. You know, when Moses come out the mountain. You know what I'm saying? And we was worshiping that golden calf when he came down, and that caused us to wander around for 40 years until he cleansed the people. But then, you know, during the Judges days, we was in so many captivities and stuff. And then, you know, when Solomon, King David, King Saul, King David, and King Solomon come on, we tried to do right. We tried to follow the law. All right, upon Solomon's death, because he was sinning and stuff with all them other people and stuff, that Jeroboam went into Egypt. Jeroboam was from the tribe of Ephraim. You know, the tribe of Ephraim was half Egyptians. You know what I'm saying? Ephraim and Manasseh. You know, they granddaddy was the priest of On. You know, and their mother was Anaset. Pharaoh gave Joseph Anaset when he seen that his priests couldn't handle and couldn't interpret his dreams, and Joseph did. You know, Pharaoh seen that as a threat. You know, Pharaoh seen that as a threat to his nation and to his people. Us answering his dreams, Joseph answering his dreams. So, you know, Pharaoh gave Joseph Anaset, the priest of On daughter, and from that union came Manasseh and Ephraim. Okay, Ephraim did the golden calf the whole time. The whole time. They, you know what I'm saying? They messed us up. And that's what caused the Assyrians to come in and take some of the fighters to Assyria. Where they come back in history is called the Satai history of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And one of the Satai kings that the Assyrians put on the throne killed King Josiah after he cleansed the land of the Egyptian worship. You see what I'm saying? So Egypt basically messed us up all the way to the day. You know what I'm saying? That's why come America put the Egyptian symbols and everything up. But you know, this is part of the Minnesota history. Okay. That golden calf, that's what we worship. That golden calf, it messed us up the whole time. But you know, the book of Jeremiah explained how we the Hebrews and how we broke the covenant and how we said we wasn't gonna do the law no more. You know, and from that caused the transatlantic slave trade. No matter how long it took the creator to catch up with us, you know what I'm saying? That's what caused the transatlantic slave trade. And it took about 200 something years to remove us from Africa and put us in the conditions that we in now. But it all come from the book of Jeremiah. Man, the book of Jeremiah. In 588 BC, we told the creator that we weren't going to do the law no more. And we went into Africa and we never returned back out of Africa. And how you know? You got the exile prophets, Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. They didn't record them people coming back out of Africa. And those people had plenty times to come back out of Africa. You know, when the Persians was destroyed, you know what I'm saying? The Persians beat the Babylonians up. And that's what allowed the exiles to come home from Babylon, because the Persians whooped the Chaldeans, the Babylonians. Okay, that would have allowed the Hebrews to come out of Egypt and come back and be reunited with those exiles, but that didn't happen. You see what I'm saying? There's no recorded history nowhere on earth of those Hebrews coming out of Egypt, and that's the big secret. They don't want to never talk about that. And then you got the other organizations, the other Hebrew organizations, they ain't never talked about it, but now they trying to pick up on it. You know what I'm saying? That's like the Israelite Brotherhood. They starting to put the Israelite Brotherhood on their videos to throw the search engine off, because they see how we doing the history and that we doing the history correct. This is the Israelite Brotherhood. Don't go for that stuff that them other groups doing. They don't have no history. They don't have no history. The Israelite Brotherhood showing all us what time it is. We showing us what happened to us. Them other groups, they coming off that 70 AD. Ain't no Hebrews ran into Africa because her Edomite temple was destroyed. You know, I already established the fact that the Greeks controlled the land, the promised land, since 332 BC. So, you know, ain't no Hebrews squabbling with no body over no Herd temple and then running to Africa in 70 AD. That's false history, and that's Jewish history. I try to show you Hebrews the difference between Jewish history and Hebrew history. This is the difference. See, when we abandon our heritage, we abandon our heritage to some Babylonian scribes. You know, if you go to Second Kings 17:24, I turn right to it. 17:24. Second Kings 17:24, you will see the word Sepharavim. Sepharavim is the Hebrew word for Sephardi, Sepharadim, and Sephardic. Those the first set of Jews that was placed in our land. And they stayed in our land all the way up to now. You see, when we went into Africa in the book of Jeremiah, those Jews were still in our land, and then they came to Passover dinner under King Hezekiah. This is in 722 BC. If you read 2 Chronicles 30, verse 25, you will see that the strangers, you know what I'm saying, that the strangers came to the Passover dinner, because King Hezekiah sent word to all Israel to come to the Passover dinner. And those strangers that was in the land from 722 BC, when the king of Assyria placed them in 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 24, 722 BC. Well, those Sephardims was the strangers in King Hezekiah time, 2 Chronicles 30, verse 25. You know, that's the strangers. And they was doing our heritage, and they was doing our covenant. Okay, when we went into Africa in the book of Jeremiah in 588 BC, that's like 134 years later, we abandoned our whole heritage to them. You see what I'm saying? And they start writing books. Man, they start writing all kind of books. They was Babylonian scribes already, and they was already writing books. They wrote the whole Babylonian history. The Sephardims is responsible for Babylon history. Norjal, Murdoch, and all them gods. Okay, Ashkenazi come into our land with the Chaldeans. You know what I'm saying? Under the name Scythian. The word Scythian is code name for Ashkenazi in history. Okay, the Ashkenazi nation, the Scythians made up the Chaldean army. And then when they chased us into Africa, they settled in the promised land. But the Persians took the power from them. You see what I'm saying? And then gave it back to the exiles. But the exiles sinned so bad. Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. You know what I'm saying? They record our sins, and that's what allowed the Greeks to come in and displace them and knock them off. They vanished so fast. They got killed off in about 98 years. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like blank history on that. You know, people think that our history went all the way down to now, to 70 AD and stuff. And that's false history. The exile history was cut off during the Greek times, around by 332 BC. All right, they was cut off. All right. Then the Sephardims history kick in. They made up the Greeks. They was partners with the Greeks, and that's how our books got translated. See, they was already speaking our language, Hebrew, Aramaic, and a few other languages. And when they destroyed the exiles, that allowed them to get the books and start writing history. In every single book during the Greek times, from 332 BC on down, every single book, the Maccabees and all these other books that y'all so love to talk about, men and all that. Well, all that was created by them. You know what I'm saying? That's the Sephardims history and stuff. You see what I'm saying? So you got to kind of like, you know what I'm saying, watch out for that. You know what I'm saying?